welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan and I'm making videos about my life as a dog trainer as well as my journey to becoming a single foster parent. So if any of those things interest you, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons down below and stay tuned. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. If you see me looking down, it's because I am reading from my papers. I have a timeline that I wrote up, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about what it's looked like for me in the journey becoming a single foster parent so far. So each one's going to be different, and this might differ depending on where you're at, state-wise, county-wise, even depending through agencies in the same county. So always check with your area and see what the rules and everything are, but this is just my experience through the system so far. So foster care is something that I've always been curious about. I never really knew a lot about it. I knew a little bit, and it was always something in the back of my mind that I thought I would do eventually, just never had a concrete plan of when. So about a year ago now, yeah, a little over a year ago. So about the end of 2019 is when I really started looking at foster care and thinking about it and wanting to learn more about foster care in the foster system in general. So I looked up a lot of YouTube videos. I will try to link some down below of some of the main ones that I went to that were super informative and taught me a lot about the system and what it looks like in different areas. I read articles, I followed Instagram and Facebook groups, and was just trying to learn as much as I can. Then when 2020 started, I really wanted to start looking at what foster care looked like in my area, in my small town, and how the system really worked. So there was two ways that I found out you can go about getting licensed. So that was through DHS, or you can go through an agency. I decided that I really wanted to look at an agency first, and it seemed like they had a lot more resources and things to help you. So I thought that that would be really good, especially being single and being just me. So I went that way. I found about 4 agencies in my area and sent them each messages about their orientation. For those of you that don't know, the first step in becoming a foster parent is going to an orientation. This tells you all about what their agency does, their kind of, their beliefs and thought process, and it also explains to you about what foster care in your area looks like. So that was really helpful. I only actually heard back from one of them right away. Like the very next day, I got a message from them. So I sent the other 3 another message, and I got 1 more reply. So out of the 4 agencies that I messaged, only 2 responded. But I decided to look at the first one that responded because they responded right away. So I thought that that was a pretty good sign. I didn't need to kind of keep messaging them to get an answer about when this was. That, hey, if I'm going into this, I want an agency that is going to be there when I have questions and respond to me. So I messaged them, and they told me the date in February. I honestly forgot about it. Life gets busy. I was a pet groomer at the time. And as the day went on, I don't know if it was, I listened to a lot of like YouTube videos, and that is I'm grooming and music and Pandora and everything. So I don't know if it was a like video that popped up, but something made me think of it and think, I think that orientation is coming up. So I went ahead and looked in my emails, and sure enough, it was that night. So I sent her a message to the director of the orientation that was holding it, and said, hey, I know it's tonight. I completely forgot about it. Is there any way that I would still be able to come? It starts at this time. I don't get out of work till this time, and it's this much of a drive, so I might be a few minutes late, but would I still be able to come? She messaged back and said, sure, just let me know when you're here and we will make it work. So I thought that was great and wonderful. I got out of work, made sure to get out on time. All my work people helped me with that once I told them what I was doing and what I wanted to go to a meeting for. So they were really good about that. So that orientation was February 25th of 2020. It was really good. It was really helpful. We got a lot of information. There was quite a few of us. A lot of them actually were there for kinship, it seemed like. And that kind of surprised me, but okay, sure. I don't really know what it looks like in our area. So that was kind of my first impression. Everyone was really nice. They gave us a lot of information, as well as the application that we had to fill out, which is several pages long. So the next step in becoming a foster parent is filling out an application with that agency or DHS and sending it in. So I ended up thinking about it for a few days, doing a little more research, writing it up, and I really wanted to be intentional about how I filled out the application, because this is a big step and it's a big process to undertake. So I sent in my application March 10th. Then I got a message from the orientation leader that said, hey, I had been assigned a licensing worker and she should be messaging me soon. If I didn't hear from her, let her know. And that was about March 13th. So it only took a few days for them to get my application in. Of course, I emailed it, so it was there easier. Gotta love technology. Then, of course, everyone knows in March is when COVID hit. So everything sort of got shut down, which in my case, it was actually, like from the foster care standpoint, it was okay because it gave me time to fill out all the paperwork and everything that I needed and get it all together. On the bad side, everything was shut down, so some of the things that I couldn't get needed to wait. So basically between March and May was when I did a lot of my paperwork. Every few days I was getting more paperwork sent to her that said, please complete. And I would complete it and send it back to her and say, okay, what else do you got for me? I got this, this, and this, and this. And here you go. Let me know if I did it right or if there's any questions. So we did that, and that worked really well. Now, it got to the point where it was time to do my PRIDE classes. PRIDE stands for Parent Resource for Information, Development, and Education. It is the baseline courses that new foster parents have to take in order to get licensed. They talk about a bunch of different topics. It's usually a few days long. So I had the option, my licensing worker sent me a list of dates that I could do. I could either do like 2 or 3 hour classes a few times, or I could do 2 full day classes. So I decided to go that way of doing the 2 full Saturday classes, and it was from early in the morning to like 5 in the afternoon. Most of the time we got out early, but that was through May 9th and the 16th. I honestly, after I did it, I don't recommend it. I didn't like it. I don't think I retained as much information as I would have if I did the multiple day ones. It was really good. I also didn't like, because of COVID, of course, we had to do it through Zoom. And I thought it was really hard to sit for that long, and you didn't really get to know the other people in your class, which is sometimes a good thing, to get to know them, to kind of create more networks of people that are going to understand. There's a big thing with foster parents that the only person that is going to understand are other foster parents. You can try to explain it to other people, but unless you're right in there, you're just not going to understand some of these things. So it worked. It got me where I needed to be, and I took the classes and did all the assignments that we needed to do and all the paperwork for it. But I just don't think that it ended up being the best. So if you have the option to take the multiple day or the 2 day, I definitely recommend doing the multiple day. I wish I would have done it now. Moving on, I really wanted to get that done because in June I was heading to Virginia for 17 days to do my dog trainer academy. So that kind of puts things on a standstill, which my licensing worker and I both had talked about beforehand, that I was going to be gone for this time, and that kind of gave her some time to work on stuff. And I really wanted to make sure that my part was done and that I had gotten as much information as I could ahead of time for her. So I got back end of June, and beginning of July we started this up again, and I really didn't hear from her much until August. August 7th, we were scheduled for a home visit, and here's kind of where things started going downhill for me with this process. Can we not lick the gate? He's literally just sitting there licking the gate. Hold on. I don't really know what you're doing, Snarf. Hi. Is the gate yummy? Okay, continue. Sorry, that was really funny. He's got a really big tongue. So, like I said, this is kind of where things started to go downhill, and I really started feeling like I was struggling with this process, which I know I'm going to get a bunch of comments and everything about it being, yes, it's a long process. It takes a long process and everything like that. I understand that. I know it's a long and tedious process and it needs to be done for that way for a reason, but I just felt like my licensing worker sort of forgot about me and was just blowing me off a lot, which we'll get into that. So June 7th, like I said, we went to was supposed to be my home visit. The day before, she messaged me and says, hey, can we do a virtual home visit instead? Sure, fine. And we did that through Zoom. We went through, I showed her the rooms and my smoke detectors and carbon monoxide readers, and showed her that I had running water, and that was about it that she required me to show her. Oh, and the lockbox. I had to show her the medical lockbox too. But that was about it. Nothing else. So we did that, and then I had asked her, okay, well, what's the next step? And never really heard back from her. August 14th, so a week later, I sent some medical forms in and asked again what still needs to be done. Not really an answer. Then a few days later, so the 19th, I messaged and said, hey, what are the next steps that we still need in this process? Because at this point, I had done orientation. I'd done the Pride classes. We did a virtual home visit, which I know we need a physical home visit, but she wasn't sending me more paperwork. She wasn't communicating, and there just wasn't any clear answer for anything. So I kind of started getting frustrated, like, can you at least just tell me, even if it's just, I got some stuff to work on, and then we'll do this. Nope. Radio silence. Not even an acknowledgement of my messages. So that was the 19th, and I didn't hear back from her. So the 20th, I sent her an email asking the same thing, and got a response that said that she had some stuff to work on her end, and was waiting to see how the supervisor said to proceed. So, okay, that was at least an answer. I felt like we were getting somewhere. No word, no word, no word. Didn't hear anything. In September 10th, I sent her an email asking if she had heard anything on what the next steps were, with no response. I ended up getting a response to this message on October 9th. So all the way back from August 20th to about October 9th, I really didn't hear anything from her. And that was really frustrating to not even be acknowledged. Like, are we moving forward? Are we standstill? Or what is going on? I'm really confused right now. So then on September 18th, I had messaged saying, hey, I ended up getting some reptiles. Is that something that I need to fill out any paperwork or anything for? And she actually responded right away to that. So, and just saying, nope, we only need it for dogs or cats that you have in the house. But didn't ask or respond to any of the emails or even acknowledge that I had sent any emails asking what the next steps were or where we were going from here. So that was kind of frustrating, because that just really made me feel like she was blowing me off, because she was acknowledging that question, but not another question that I had asked several times in several different ways. So then on September 22nd, I sent another text message asking her if she knew what the next steps were, or if we had any word on how we were proceeding, and still no reply. So then September 24th, by this time I had found a few single foster parent support groups. There's one for my state and one for like the just general. And I love both of them. They're great resources. The mamas on there are wonderful, and I love hearing their stories and talking with them. So I reached out to both of those groups and said, hey, I had my virtual home study 2 weeks later. I asked about the next step, and I haven't heard from her in about 8 weeks. Is this normal? And what should I be doing? I actually got the response from a lot of them that they're like, wow, it's taken this long. They're like, drop that agency and go with another one. Or, who is your agency? That's not normal. I would message supervisors and stuff like this. At this point, I had no idea who my licensing worker's supervisor was. So I did the only thing that I really guessed. I really didn't want to just drop the agency because I'd really liked them so far, and I didn't want my problems with this one licensing worker to kind of be how I viewed the entire agency, because so far the rest of the agency was great. So I went back to the person that had held my orientation and shot her a message. So the other question that I had asked about the same time on Facebook is, how long does this process usually take? Because most of I was seeing left and right people that were saying, oh, 8 weeks later, I'm licensed. 12 weeks later, I'm licensed. It's been only this many months, and I'm sitting here like, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So I messaged and asked everyone, how long did it take you to be licensed? And explained my situation again. And most of them said that even during COVID, it was taking 4 to 6 months. Maybe a little bit longer, but most of them were getting done rather quickly still. So I didn't understand, I guess, why mine was taking so long. And I wasn't getting, of course, any feedback. So I didn't know what to expect. My mom and I actually had a trip to Florida planned in October, so I was going to wait, and if I didn't hear anything back from her, by the time that we got back from Florida, I was going to shoot her a message and see what was up, or I was actually going to send a message to the lady that did my orientation, because she was really good about responding to me and was really knowledgeable about everything. So that was kind of my plan going forward as I just trudged along waiting. But October 1st, I actually got an email from her asking, my orientation person, asking about feedback from the orientation. So at that point, I did reach back out to her and say, hey, everything was going great. The orientation was great. But I'm having these issues with my licensing worker, and kind of explained everything. And she's like, okay, that's not normal. Let me check with her supervisor and see what's going on. Talk with her and her supervisor and see what was going on exactly. So then I got a message back from my licensing worker saying that she had a meeting with her supervisor, or was going to be having a meeting with her supervisor, and they were going to talk over what still needed to be done and make a plan from there. So on October 20th, I got a email from my licensing worker saying, this is the initial foster care licensing checklist. Here it is. This is what you've done. It was really hard to read, and I didn't really understand what still needed to be done, so really it answered none of my questions on there. So I messaged her back and I said, great, thank you so much. I'm excited that we're moving forward. What really needs to be done still? And I didn't really hear anything back from her about that. So then I messaged her. So this is now October 23rd, and I'm asking, so do we have a plan moving forward? Are we like trying to get me licensed? Are we thinking like before Thanksgiving, after Christmas, before Christmas, after the new year? Like, do we have any timeline in mind of when this is going to be done, or what still needs to be done? And I still got no answer. So then About November 5th, I messaged my orientation person again and said, hey, this is what's going on again. Not really sure what's going on exactly. So I got an automated reply that said she was on vacation until the 17th or 16th, and she would get back then. So I patiently waited till the 16th. And as I was looking up stuff, I saw that she had another orientation scheduled actually for the 16th. I fully didn't expect her to message me back on the 16th because I knew that she'd probably be catching up on a lot of stuff. So, but I did shoot her a text asking, hey, I attended your orientation back in February and I saw that you have one tonight. Is there any way that I could get on this Zoom orientation? I thought maybe then it would answer some of my questions that I had and help me that way. So after a few minutes, I didn't get a response from her, and she called me then and said, okay, what is going on? Last time I talked to you, things were moving forward. And I was like, yeah, things were great. They started moving forward, and then it just hit a brick wall and everything stopped again. And I have no idea what's going on. And I explained everything that I've just explained past there. And she said, okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and I will get back to you. So I said, great. Funny thing is, the very next day, my licensing worker called me. And she said, I'm working on writing up your report. Can I call you later if I have any questions? So I said, yep, sure. I'm doing nothing all day. I have time. I can answer the phone. Let's get this done. So she ended up calling me later that day, and we talked for about 2 hours, answering all sorts of questions for the report, asking like what kind of issues I felt that I could handle, what kind of behaviors I felt I could handle, what ages, if I would take a child with different likes, different ethnicities, cultures, backgrounds, religions, a ton of questions, more questions than you would even think. I honestly could never imagine saying no, I wouldn't take a child because of something that they were interested in, so that was kind of shocking to me. That was a big section of it is, would you take a kid that was interested in ballet, interested in sports, interested in computers, interested in cars? Maybe it might matter to some people. It really didn't matter to me. Opal, get out of the plant! Sorry, she's trying to hide her bone in my potted plant because she thinks it's a good place to hide and it is not. Okay, back to the foster care. So after that, I had messaged my orientation lady again and said, hey, I heard from licensing worker and we're moving forward on this. And she said, great. I'm still talking with her supervisor because we're looking at 9 months and that is unacceptable for this. So I said, okay, cool. I was actually kind of surprised that my licensing worker had messaged me before the orientation person had talked to her. So I guess that's just how things fall in line. So then on November 25th, I sent a message to my licensing worker asking if it was possible for me to get licensed by the end of the year, because that was kind of my goal. 2020 was a really crappy year, and I was hoping to get licensed before the end of it and make it one of the good things that actually came out of this year. She said, I don't know, let me talk with someone who is more senior and might know these things, and I will get back to you. So after that, guess what? If you're guessing I didn't hear from her, you're right. So then December 11th came around and she told me that she had a meeting with, or is having a meeting with her supervisor on the 17th, and they should be able to have some answers for me then on when they want to wrap me up. So on the 15th, my orientation worker messaged me again asking just how things were going, and I told her where we were moving to, and she said, okay, let me know if you have any more problems. I am really sort of invested now, and I want to see this through and see you licensed. So we're going to make this happen. Just keep me up to date on what's going on. So the 17th, my licensing worker and her supervisor had a meeting. The 18th, I got an answer as to the steps I needed to take And she said, it looks like we should be wrapping you up in January. I still need to finish writing the reports, do a home visit, and talk to your references. So 3 things really. I don't understand why the references were weighted till the last thing. You'd think that that would kind of be one of the first things that they would do. And yeah, that's kind of everyone's response to that is, shouldn't they have talked to references first? But who am I to judge? I don't know how this process goes. I'm going through it for the first time. So after the new year, things have been moving very quickly. She's been asking me a lot of questions. Almost every few days I'm getting questions about, what are my views on this? What are my views on this? Would I take a child that had this? Or what do I think of this? Or how do I view this? How was my childhood? Things like that, just getting text messages and occasionally a phone call. So we've gone through that. As of January 11th, I asked her if we were still hoping to wrap things up in January, and she said yes. From there, I had several more conversations with her, text messages. It's actually felt like we're moving somewhere this month. My orientation worker had messaged me again asking how things are going, and I said, we still don't have a date for my home visit. And last I checked, she's been sending me a lot of questions, but we still need to finish the report, do the references, and the home visit. And she said, okay, keep me up to date on everything's going. If you don't hear from her by February 1st, let me know. So moving along, Thursday the 26th, which was yesterday, I had my in-person home visit. It was very quick. It took about maybe 10 minutes. She walked through, saw my house, just really walked through each of the rooms, and I showed her where everything was. She visually saw the lockbox. She flushed the toilet to make sure I have running water. She checked the expiration date on the car seat, as well as the manufacture date on the crib. I didn't know cribs expired. Like, obviously, if it's broke or has missing pieces, you don't want to use it, but I really didn't know that there was a time limit on cribs. So that was something that I knew that I learned. And that was about it. She told me that she still had to contact the references, and we were waiting on a clearance to come back, and then she would send it to the state. That was around noon that I had my inspection. Later that day, she made contact with my references, and she made contact with 2 out of the 3. So she said she was just waiting to hear back from the 1 and waiting on clearance for something to come back, and then she was going to send it to the state, and we should be done from there. So that's kind of where we're at right now. She is going to inform me when she sends it to the state. Of course, when it is sent out, it could take anywhere from like 1 to 3 months to get it back to me before I am actually licensed and can start taking kiddos. So I'm guessing it's going to be about a year between when I started this. I actually sent my application is when I'm considering my first day. So March 10th, and it'll be at least probably then before I hear if I'm licensed, and it could be a few months longer. So that's about where I'm at right now. I don't know how long it's going to take. It could take anywhere, and I'm just buying time right now. So because I only have 1 spare bedroom, I have my bedroom and the foster bedroom that I got set up, I can either they can be opposite genders if they're under 5, but any child over 5 has to be the same gender. So I am being licensed for 1 to 2 kids, either gender. I said it doesn't really matter to me, and up to from 0 to 12 is my age range for right now. That can always change. I can either up it or lower it depending on what I decide. We're just sort of waiting now. We're in another period of waiting. So that's about all I can do. We've done everything. Every step has been hit. And I feel like we're kind of coming to an end here. So that is my journey so far. If you guys enjoyed this video, I know it was a little long, but go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notifications on every time that I post a new video. I'm trying to post them regularly. That's going to be my goal for this year. to post videos of the dog training and foster care regularly. We'll see how it goes. So far, it's not gone too bad. But if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.